Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting the right way, the Judeo-Christian worldviews and real-world first-hand experience. I've been very blessed by God to have been a gunfighter. Made it through some of the war-torn places of the world and some of the nastiest streets in the country as a gunfighter, as you'll hear in the bio. Before we get to that, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. If you listened to this podcast before, you could scroll down, hit the number of stars on whatever app you're listening to this on if it lets you, and write a review. It can just be good podcast. Awesome. I do this podcast to share the real world first-hand experience I've been blessed with the listeners, and if you do that, perhaps it'll reach more people. With that, we'll roll into the bio and then today's topic, which is going to be the Guns of Ruger, Part 2, the new guns. Who am I? First and foremost, I am a Christian. And I don't apologize for that. That's number one in my life in everything that I do. And that's the manliest thing about me. I am made in the image of God. Strong, powerful, dominant. And I follow the ultimate alpha male, Jesus Christ. As far as background, I grew up fairly simple in the southeastern United States, hunting and fishing. Grew up fairly monetarily poor. I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I'm a combat veteran. Did a couple of tours in Iraq. After that, I was an urban warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps. I also served on the LAPD. Worked regular assignments and more specialized assignments. I've also been a private contractor for a 3-letter government agency I won't specify. In addition to that, I've also served the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. My primary MOS in the Marine Corps, 0351, Infantry Assaultman. My primary MOS in the Army, 11 Bravo, Infantry. I started competition shooting even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. In fact, I already had been a state champion gold medalist before joining the Marine Corps. Very blessed with the talents God's given me. I've competed in many things and won more competitions than I can remember, including a couple of state championships, one regional championship, and third place in a national ranking. Most of my competition wins are in handgun, but I've also competed in rifle, precision rifle. That's how I cut my teeth. I've also competed in archery and shotgun and muzzleloader and even hatchet throwing, knife throwing. I've been very blessed with those talents. And as Jesus says, to he who has more shall be given and he will have in abundance. I've been a firearms instructor for a lot of years, teaching military, law enforcement, civilians. FBI certified firearms instructor, other 3-letter government agency certified. Taught at one of the largest firearms training schools in the country. I've been very blessed to teach more students than I can recount. I have been a professional big game hunter and guide, slaying bison and elk and all manner of beast. In addition, I've been the commander of a tactical team. Commanding that unit, our primary job to stop active shooters in a fairly large metropolitan area. To ask what I do, I guess I would say that first and foremost, I'm a servant of God, a follower of Jesus, a preacher and teacher and leader of men. With that, guys, we'll roll into today's episode. Alright guys, enough about me. Let's get into today's topic. Now this is going to be a part 2. It can be a standalone if you just want to listen to this one. But the first one on the Guns of Ruger was more the classic Guns of Ruger. The iconic guns, just some of the really cool guns they've made over the years. The ones we talked about in that episode, they still make. Now I'd like to dive into some of the new guns, because Ruger's still doing cool, innovative stuff. Still making made in America guns for blue-collar Americans that can be passed down from generation to generation. And I realize I get nothing from Ruger. I get no kickbacks, no sponsorships, no bribes. Now you may have a preconceived notion that I own a lot of guns. Maybe by some people's standards I own a lot of guns, but by a lot of standards I don't. I'm not a firearms collector. I'm a user and a shooter of guns. So I'm going to start off the list. The one new Ruger I would consider new. It's probably, the model came out a few years ago, but pretty new Ruger that I own. and that is the Ruger Mark IV. Now the Ruger handguns, the Ruger Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, have been kind of the standard for a good, accurate, reliable .22 handgun for decades. But if you've ever had one and owned one and disassembled it to clean it, you know that it can be an exercise in frustration. The Mark IV, I don't know how they engineered that, but hats off to those guys. It's literally a push button, and then upper and lower come apart, even easier than an AR. You pull the bolt out, kind of similar to an AR, and it's very, very easy to clean. So much easier to assemble and disassemble than the Mark I, Mark II, and Mark III. Come in a lot of different flavors. Mine is the tactical, not because I think every gun has to be tactical, because it has a rail on the top and bottom, which lets it use the Blackhawk Omnivore holster that I use. I've run for years as a professional gunfighter. I can switch from a full-size 45 1911 to a double-stack STI 9mm, to a Glock if I want to slum it, as I jokingly say sometimes, to the Ruger Mark IV Tactical. We all know how ammo is right now, and if I can practice to draw, I normally run a 1911, and I can run my Ruger Mark IV 2245 Tactical. Get my reps in, good quality reps, making sure my draw is good, and my speed is good, and my accuracy is good with 22. Why not? That's a fantastic gun, so that's going to be the number one on the list, is the Ruger Mark IV. If you want the tactical for the reasons or other reasons that I specified, that's great, but they also make the classic looking one that kind of looks like the old Luger. That's probably the most practical of them. Be great if you wanted to try handgun hunting on small game. It would be great for just a hiking backpack gun. It would be a great gun to introduce a new shooter to handgun shooting. Or if you just want to go out and have a lot of fun shooting a .22 handgun. The next one I would consider fairly new, and it's the Ruger Scout Rifle. Now the very first Gunfighter episode was on the Scout Rifle and my interpretation of the new Scout Rifles, because I really appreciate the Jeff Cooper Scout Rifle concept, but I think that a lot more new and innovative products let you do things that you couldn't do decades ago. That said, that Ruger Gunsight Scout Rifle is really cool. It comes in a lot of different models. Comes in, obviously I talked in the last episode about stainless steel and how much I love stainless steel for a working man's hard use hunting practical rifle. Make it in 308 and stainless steel, and I think that is fantastic. A couple of different models. There's one with a classic looking wood stock, the gray laminate stock, which is beautiful, but they make just a regular, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but just brown wood stock with the stainless steel, and it just really looks awesome. So if you wanted a manually operated, good do-it-all, could fill in for a lot of different things, a hunting rifle, designated marksman rifle, manually operated offensive rifle, or a tactical rifle, or a go-to big bore survival rifle, that Ruger Gunsight Scout Rifle would be a good choice. The next one is also a Centerfire Rifle. As I mentioned in the bio, I was a big game hunter and guide. And Ruger makes a gun called the Guide Gun, and I was so close to buying one. I didn't, because I couldn't really justify it, in that I already had guns that would do what I needed that gun to do. But talk about a beautiful rifle. It's got the laminated stock, but with different colors, like a kind of a green-orange amalgamation that's just beautiful. Take a couple of different models. You can get your big bore calibers. The 375 Ruger is really cool. The time I was hunting things professionally like buffalo and elk, and I thought that would be a good cartridge for it. They also make it, or have made it, in a 30-06 Ruger Guide Gun. A beautiful rifle, that good controlled feed action for hunting things that can kill you easily. I kind of like that controlled feed action that a lot of rifles have gone away from because of cost, but they still use, and I respect them for that. So that Ruger Guide Gun, and a brother to that, or sister to that, whatever you want to say, is the Alaskan, which is also cool. Now I did something for this episode I don't normally do, was just look stuff up. Looked up some of their new products on the Ruger website, and one thing they really have that's cool is the GP100 Plus. It gives you more than the standard 6-round capacity. Now I talked about the GP100 before. It's built like a tank. It's either called the GP100 Plus or the GP100 Super, but it holds more rounds. I'm sure it's still built like a tank, like the other GP100s that I've owned, and it also comes in 9mm, which is pretty cool. you already have, if you've gotten into the world of shooting in the last 20 years, it's likely you started with like a Glock 19 or a 9mm handgun. You can get into the world of revolvers, which has a lot of advantages, and still stick with that 9mm. And that's pretty cool. The next one that's really cool, the Ruger Charger. Now, if you like the 10/22, if you like it for plinking, or even if you don't, it's a classic plinking gun. I've heard that it was based on the M1 carbine, which is a great rifle too. I don't know if that's true, but the way it looks and handles and feels and points and shoots. In fact, I was out hunting with my 10/22 takedown today. But the Ruger 10/22 is awesome. The Charger was introduced some years ago, and it's that concept in a 9mm. A little short handy carbine in 9mm, which is cool. It would be a cool gun for defense. It would be a cool fun gun to shoot. This takes that coolness to a whole nother level because it's a pistol. Now I'm going to assume you know about the ATF laws concerning pistols and rifles and not explain that. This lets you get a short rifle that's designated as a pistol. An adapter on the back for some pretty common pistol braces. Shortens it down, so technically it's a handgun. But you can have a short, tiny, handy pistol caliber, I guess pistol, but it functions like a pistol caliber carbine. You could put in a backpack, that you could put in a laptop case, that you could do all kinds of stuff to, put a red dot on it. Now it's tiny already, but it comes apart like the Ruger 10/22 takedown that I have. It means it gets even smaller. It's a takedown gun. About a cool, backpack survival and just fun plinking gun. Lots of people make PCCs. Lots of people make pistol braced, little short carbine kind of things. And for good reason. I run one, I keep one behind the seat of my car. This exact model I'm talking about, a pistol braced kind of carbine that lets you have a shorter carbine than you normally would be able to because it has a pistol brace on it. But this is really cool. In 9mm, a lot of firepower. It takes the Ruger mags or the Glock mags. Put a 33 round mag in it or put just a regular size mag in it. Like I said, disassemble it, put it in your laptop case, put it in whatever, in the pocket behind the seat of your car. Throw any number of the adapters they make for the attachment for a brace on the back and a good optic. That's a lot of firepower in a tiny little package. And that's pretty cool. That's worth mentioning. The next one is about as different as I could imagine and still be a firearm. And it's the Ruger number 1, which is a single shot, break open hunting rifle. And they are beautiful. Of like a tank and a Swiss watch mixed together. They're just elegant, they're beautiful, they're rugged. They've been making the Ruger number 1 for a long time. Check that out if you don't know what it is. They've made it in a lot of different calibers over the years. I see on their website the stuff they're making right now, they make it. And the one that I would get it in if I was picking, the 275 Rigby / 7x57 Mauser. Now, perhaps one day I'll do an entire episode on just that cartridge because it is a fantastic cartridge. Very similar to the 7mm Aud 8. Not super familiar with foreign calibers. A lot of the famous big game hunters over the years have used this caliber. It came out in 1892 and it's still awesome. It would be great for hunting any kind of big game that you'd want to eat. In North America, and it would be fine for a lot of other animals around the world. The 7x57 is an awesome cartridge. That's an awesome gun. If you wanted to hunt with something, some style. Picture a guy in like a pair of khakis and a tweed jacket with shoulder patches and a safari hat. You get one shot, and I like that. A beautiful gun, an elegant gun, and it's really cool that they still make stuff like that in this tactic crazy world. Everything's got to be a black Glock 19 or an AR-15. I like those guns too, but there's a lot more to the world of guns than just those. And that Ruger number 1, it's really cool that they still make it, and it's really cool that people still buy it. To go out in the woods and stalk up on a wild animal with a single shot rifle. with a cartridge that's still great, but that came out in the 1800s and has been used all over the world. If you want a hunt and a rifle that'll tie you back to history, that's pretty cool. The next one I'm going to talk about, and I don't know that I've ever had my hands on one. I still consider it one of Ruger's new rifles, a revolutionary rifle, and that's the Ruger Precision Rifle. And this was kind of a game changer, so I feel that I have to mention it. It really brought precision rifle shooting in an out-of-the-box way, and a package I think the average middle-class blue-collar shooter could afford that wanted to get into precision long-range shooting. Before that, if you want to do that, it was generally a Savage. You still got a bunch of custom work to do it to get a stock that would fit and adjust and this thing and that thing and a free-floated chassis. The Ruger came like that. Ruger Precision Rifle. And again, it was kind of a game changer for the price point and the precision that it got you. You're looking into getting into the world of long-range shooting. You want to spend less than, say, $3,000 on the rifle and the optic. That'd be a good place to look, is that Ruger Precision Rifle. The next one I'm going to talk about, again, far different from the Ruger Precision Tactical Rifle, long-range precision rifle. It's what they call the Single 7. Now, the Single 6 is one of their classic single-action revolvers that's been around for a long time. The Single 7, they call it that because it holds 7 rounds, I assume. And they have it chambered in the .327 Federal Magnum. .327 Federal Magnum is a cool cartridge. It would be the smallest I would go and still hunt deer-sized game. Beautiful, elegant, single-action revolvers. If you're looking to get into the medium game handgun hunting, that'd be a pretty cool place to look. The next one, if you want to get into handgun hunting or just start handgun shooting, the Ruger Single 10 .22 long rifle. It's a single action revolver. They make a couple of different models. They make one 5.5 inches in stainless steel. That's the one I like the best, but that might not be what you like the best. If you're looking for a good heirloom quality single action revolver that's just a lot of fun to shoot, a lot of fun to bring out to the range to teach new shooters, or like I said, if you want to get into the world of handgun hunting, I wouldn't recommend starting hunting or starting handgun hunting with large game. I would recommend doing it with small game. Go out and bust prairie dogs, or tree squirrels, or ground squirrels, or whistle pigs, or rock chucks, or woodchucks, depending on what part of the country you live in. That's pretty cool. Be a pretty cool place to start. The next one came out just a few years ago, and it's really cool too. It's a single action revolver in .22. It's the budget-friendly one, and it's last time I saw it, it was just under $200 in the store, and it's the Ruger Wrangler. If you're looking to get in the world of revolvers or fire handgun shooting and not spend a lot of money, it's a Ruger action revolver in .22 for 200-ish or so bucks, depending on when you listen to this or what crazy gun ban thing's going on. That's really cool. And I didn't put this in the show notes, but reading through the list, and this was coincidental, it's really cool that Ruger bounces back and forth, straddling that line between the practical and the tactical. They have a lot of really cool, Old West revolvers. They have a lot of really cool tactical ARs. They have a lot of really cool semi-automatic handguns that are priced for the blue-collar user. And they have, single-shot rifles to go out and stalk big game. It's pretty cool that they do both things pretty well. With that, guys, I hope you liked this episode of Gunfighter Life. If you like this podcast, you may also like Simple Man Sermons if you care about the important stuff, and the Alpha Male Podcast. You can check out those likely on whatever platform you're listening to this on. You can check out all of this stuff and more at goodshepherdtraining.com. Instead of mentioning a bunch of stuff, a bunch of different links, you can just go to goodshepherdtraining.com. If you like this podcast and want to support the message, there, scroll to the bottom, there'll be a link on how to support on Patreon. If you don't want to support financially, that's fine. Listen for free and don't feel guilty about it. But if you could, leave some feedback, leave a review, that'd be great. And also share it with somebody you think might enjoy it. Also, if you want to contact me, again, goodshepherdtraining.com. And housekeeping stuff, it seems like some of the best episodes are ones that I would consider to have not done the best. Ones on single topics like a cartridge. They do by far better than the other ones. But I don't do this podcast for me. I do it mostly for you guys, the listeners. So if that's what you guys like, I'll try and do some more of those. Maybe I'll do shorter episodes on a single cartridge. Also, on a side note, I'm very blessed that my wife's job went fully remote earlier this month, at the time of this recording. There's a big tether holding me here in the city of Las Vegas, and I very much want to get out of here. So if you guys know of any opportunities you think somebody with my background would be suited for, if you heard the bio, again, you can contact me at goodshepherdtraining.com. I know that God will provide for me. He always does, but who knows, maybe He'll provide through one of the listeners. That'd be pretty cool. Alright guys, and as a thank you for listening to the end of the episode, I will give you a tactical tip. Tactical tip of the day: don't eat yellow snow. No, I'm just kidding, that's not the actual tactical tip. If you've listened for any length of time, you'll know the importance that I put on dry firing. I think it's more important than live fire for developing good skill and good marksmanship. Dry fire is more important in my opinion. I always confirm with live fire. I think you should spend more time practicing dry firing than live firing. You can also do that in hunting. You could go out and, let's say, be hunting for something like deer and see another animal that you don't have a tag for. You can unload your gun, make sure it's unloaded, get a good sight picture, and dry fire on that animal using all the skills. If you know you're in range, you can call your shots. You can get a lot more hunting shots in, break any laws without poaching. You can get with your 1 deer tag a year, 2 deer a year, whatever you're allowed to get, as long as it's not going to mess up your other hunt. Say you're out deer hunting and you see a coyote and you don't want to shoot the coyote because it might ruin your deer hunt. You could gently unload that rifle and dry fire on that coyote and know whether you got him or not if you can call your shots. Or if you're walking, stalking, and you've made a bunch of noise, you've hit a rock, it's fallen down a hill, you've stepped on a stick and it's super loud, and you've looked around to make sure nothing's running away that you need to look at. Probably going to be a minute before things quiet down. You can, if you see an old soda can, before you go and pick it up and clean up the litter, dry fire on it. And that way, if that deer does present itself, you're already a little bit fresh. You're not as rusty. You're already practiced. So I did that today. I went out. Could have shot a few things. I actually didn't shoot anything. I just dry fired on them. Just for the enjoyment of it, just for being out in the woods and enjoying seeing wild animals. Anyway, guys, that's a tactical tip for the day, or the practical tip for the day, however you want to quantify it. Thanks, and have a blessed day.